Okay, hello, welcome to week 4 of our revision. This week we're looking at secondary storage, and again this is paper 1. Okay, so find the sheet given to you in lesson. It should be sheet 4. Have it in front of you, ready to answer the questions and make notes. So remember from last week we talked about there are 2 types of memory and storage that you need to know about. There is primary memory, which we covered last week, things like RAM, ROM, cache, virtual memory, which is memory accessed quickly by the CPU, and it stores programs and data while they are in use, and they're mostly volatile. Today we're looking at secondary storage. Secondary storage is non-volatile and it's permanent, and it stores your data and files when they are not in use, when they're not open, when they're not loaded, when the computer's not running. And the 3 types of secondary storage types are optical, magnetic, and solid state. Question, however, why do you need both? Why do you need primary and secondary? Because primary memory is volatile, temporary, and secondary storage is permanent. If you just had primary, you would lose all your data and files when the power is turned off. So you need secondary storage because it's permanent, long-term, non-volatile memory. Okay, remember when you're talking about secondary storage in particular, use the key words that we talked about last lesson or last time. Capacity, cost, speed, reliability, durability, portability. Capacity, how much data can be stored. Cost, how much does it cost per megabyte or gigabyte. The speed, how quickly can it read or write data. Reliability, how long will it keep working for. Durability, how tough or resistant or fragile is it. And portability, how easy is the storage to transport. Use those keywords when you're describing and talking about secondary storage in particular. On the sheet, answer this one box here. What's meant by secondary storage definition? And why is it needed as well as primary memory? Okay, checking your answers, Purple pen adding to your answers. Secondary storage is non-volatile, permanent storage. It stores your data and files when they are not in use, when they are not loaded into RAM. Why is it needed? Because primary memory is volatile, temporary. Secondary storage is non-volatile, permanent. You would lose your data and files if you just had it in primary memory. Okay, so we know what secondary storage is. It's permanent and non-volatile. The 3 types you need to know are magnetic storage, such as hard disk drives, solid state storage, such as SSDs and flash and memory cards, and optical disks, such as CDs, DVDs, and Blu-rays. Magnetic. So magnetic, remember there is a spinning disk. The data is stored magnetically on the disk, and the data spins, and there is a read-write arm that moves backwards and forwards, and a read-write head that reads the data on the disk as it moves backwards and forwards across the disk really quickly. So there are moving parts. Good things about it, very high capacity. You can store large amounts of data, and it has a longer lifespan than SSDs. It can last for a long time as long as it's looked after, and it's cheaper cost per megabyte or gigabyte than SSDs. However, weaknesses, it is not durable. It's sensitive, fragile, because it's got moving parts. It can be damaged if it's moved around, and it's got a slower speed of reading and writing data than SSDs because there are moving parts, such as the arm that has to go backwards and forwards across the disk. On your sheet, make sure you've written these down, please, now. Pause the video and then check on the next bit. Okay, remember, magnetic, high capacity, longer life than SSDs, cheaper cost per megabyte than SSDs. However, not durable, sensitive moving parts, can be damaged if moved, and slower read-write speeds than SSDs. Okay, solid state. What is solid state storage? Well, again, there's no moving parts. It uses flash memory chips to store the data electronically. The data is stored electronically on flash memory. It is faster to read and write data than SE-HDDs because there's no moving parts. All the data is stored electronically. So, strength. More durable, less fragile because no moving parts. And faster speeds to read and write data than hard disks because no moving parts. However, it is higher cost per megabyte currently than HDDs. You have to pay more money for it. And is lower capacity currently than HDDs. And the other main thing is there are limited life. There's a limited number of times that you can write to the chips and change it. And it does start to wear out over time. Writing your answers down. Advantages, disadvantages of SSD or solid state drives. Okay, time to check your answer. Advantages, more durable, faster speed of read-write times, because again, both no moving parts. And disadvantages, higher cost per megabyte, lower capacity than HDDs, and limited life, limited number of writes. Okay, final type, optical. Optical meaning optics, light. It writes and reads data using lasers that shine up against the disk. Optical discs spin to allow the laser to read the disk, and the surface has tons of little billions of locations where data can be physically burnt into the disk using pits and lands, either represented by ones or zeros in the disk. Good things? It's cheap cost per disk. Cheap cost per disk. Disks are very cheap themselves. They are waterproof and drop proof. If you drop them, it's not going to really hurt them. And if they get wet, it doesn't hurt them. And they are portable, very, very light, can be sent in the post even. However, low capacity, very limited capacity on the disk. And they get damaged easily, such as being scratched, which would then very damage the disk, stop it being able to be read. Checking your sheet, writing things down. Advantages, disadvantages. Okay, time to check. Advantages, cheap cost per disk, waterproof, drop proof, portable. Disadvantages, limited or low capacity, and compared to a hard disk drive, definitely, and other ones. And it can be damaged easily, such as being scratched. Checking your answers, purple pen, before finishing the final question. Okay, so you're done with the sheet now, but just please listen to this last bit, okay? In the exam, you may be asked to identify which type of secondary storage is best, magnetic, solid state, or optical. So have a think about the following situations very quickly. An action camera used to record sports videos, a bit like a GoPro. Which type would be better, magnetic, solid state, or optical? Pause, have a think. Well, action camera would be moving, so a solid state or SD flash would be better, where you do not have moving parts. Also, the size of a solid state would be better as well. Fits in the camera and it's not going to be fragile like a hard disk drive would be. Durable, no moving parts, small and portable, and the capacity is large enough for taking video and photos as well. How about this one? Oops. A server used to back up all the files on the network. So server, lots and lots of data. It's not going to be moved. So magnetic would be better. High capacity, very large capacity, reliable and will last, and cheaper cost per megabyte. And the last one. A musician sending demos of their songs to a record label. Now, yes, these days they probably would send them through the internet, stream them, whatever. But if you had to use one of these three, optical would be best. Why? They're very portable, cheap cost per disk, and capacity is large enough for music, for example. So think about the advantages, think about the keywords, capacity, cost, portability, things like that, and think which of the types would be best for each situation. Okay, final thing, go to LearnCodeIn, finish off this week's revision and revision quiz 4. As always, click the check button, see if you've got it right, and try again if you do not. Make sure it's ready, done for lesson for me to check in lesson. See you next week.